Let me hear from you in the comment section. Whether you're PNP or JLP, first, if you talk to the PNP, people who support the People's National Party, they're going to tell you things that they feel that the PNP represented for Jamaica. Of course, labor rights are going to do the same thing. And I would hazard that if you talk to people who are neither PNP or JLP, because there are some other what we call fringe parties in Jamaica, and those people do not believe in either the JLP or the PNP. They feel like there should be other political parties in the country. I, for one, as Jamaican, I'm not opposed to the idea of more parties. It'd be interesting to hear what you think in the chat. I'm not opposed to more political parties because I think when there are more political parties and other parties having seats in the parliament, I think it's better for the country for coalition building. I think it's better for the country for consensus, because sometimes the party that gains the most seat in the House may not get a majority of 63. Therefore, they would have to form a coalition with a minority party in order to govern. And that brings about consensus because now they have to listen to the other side. I think that's a good thing. So probably that's one of the things we need to talk about today. Let me know what you think. Now, the Prime Minister, let's talk about the Prime Minister here for a second. The JLP has not released their manifesto yet, but the Prime Minister, and part of his party, they have released, the JLP has released a book that is supposed to outline the positive things that they have done in the 9 years that they have been in power. And guys, please share the live as you're here. Please share the live to your friends. We need to hear from everybody. We need as many people as possible. Share the live to your friends, share it to your WhatsApp group, share it to whoever, share it, just share it. Let's talk. Share the live, guys. Share the lives as we talk, because it's important that we are the people who are going to vote, going to the voting booth with the most information and the best information they can have. So let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the issues. Let's talk about the issues, guys. Folks, please join the live. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for more of you to join. For those of you who have joined and are still here, I totally appreciate you. Whether you are on my TikTok page, or you are on my YouTube channel, or you are on my personal website, I always respond to everybody, and I try to be as respectful to everybody, even those people who would attack without dealing with the issues. I try to be as respectful until if it gets too out of control, then for the sake of the platform, I have to adhere to the platform's rules. So I have to remove sometimes people who are outrageously abrasive and abusive. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Please join the live. Let us talk about what's happening in our country. Tell us what you don't like about the present administration. Tell us what you like about the administration. Tell us if you believe the country is going in the right direction or not. Most of you know that it's unprecedented for the JLP. This would be an unprecedented third term for them. Now we've only had one third term in our country, and that is for the PNP, PJ Patterson. A lot of people make the argument that based on that, the old saying that Jamaica a PNP country probably holds true. I've repeatedly said that I disagree, but it's hard for the JLP to compete um, when you're dealing with a political party, the PNP, that says, you know, hey, I'm gonna give you free housing, I'm gonna give you free education, I'm gonna give you free, excuse me, I'm gonna give you free electricity, I'm gonna give you free this, I'm gonna give you free that. It's hard to compete with that because there are a lot of people who believe it. And I don't know how to speak to that because I believe that people must know that there is no free lunch. Ultimately, somebody has to pay for it. Somebody has to foot the bill for it. So if somebody comes in, but I think most people don't care. I really think that most people don't care. If, for example, Mark Golding comes in and said, I'm going to give you free houses, I'm going to build them in the water, in the swamp. Excuse me. They believe I'm going to give everybody the first time, the first person in the family, free education all the way up to university level. Who is going to pay for it? Where is the money going to come from? So the country will either have to borrow. The country is either going to have to borrow, or the country is going to have to tax the people, the middle class, more. Now, taxing the middle class makes absolutely no sense, which is what has happened in our country for a long time. Now, who do we characterize as the middle class? First of all, the middle class would be the doctors, the teachers, the lecturers, the university lecturers, the police officers, the nurses, the firemen, and all the people who work in the public sector. But if we're going to tax them to give more to people who do not work, how does it make sense? Because the government is the one who has to pay the middle class. They're public sector workers. So you're taking the money out of one pocket and putting it into the other. It doesn't improve the country one bit. And pretty much all of your middle class is going to run away when they're overtaxed. And people are not stupid. They could see that they're working for nothing. They could see that they're working for nothing, Shaggy. You understand what I'm saying? They could see that their money is going into people, other people's pocket, people who don't work. So, as Shaggy said, Patterson did nothing for Jamaica. And that is the mystery to me, Shaggy. Because I don't understand, as I asked you to share this live, how is it Patterson got 3 terms and people don't understand that Patterson to date has been the worst prime minister in the country's history? Well, I'll tell you how Patterson got elected. Because, and I want to debunk that myth that PNP, Jamaica, PNP country. When Siaga first ran to be prime minister of Jamaica, they opened up, the PNP opened up one of the most racist campaigns against Edward Siaga. Guy named Neville Martin did a song called My Father Barney. I was against Edward Siaga. Siaga did serve 8 years in office. But after that, there was some internal strife within the JLP, and the JLP kind of disintegrated into 2 camps. Just like the PNP disintegrated into 2 camps with Rise United. But guys, please share this post, share this live. Share the live, please. The JLP disintegrated into 2 camps. I don't know if those of you are old enough to remember that Bruce Golding led one camp called the National Democratic Movement. And so, because of the disintegration of the JLP, plus the racism against Edward Siaga, it became a fractured party. And that's how PJ Patterson won 3 terms. Now, that's what the PNP won, 3 terms. Now, I ask Jamaicans to tell me, point me to some things, because, there are some propagandists on social media talking about Patterson built this and Patterson built that. And I said, Jesus Christ, the guy's been in office for 18 and a half years, almost, himself alone. There must be something we can look at and say, this is what he brought to Jamaica. Now there are some fools on social media talking about his North-South Highway and Halfway Tree, the transport center in Halfway Tree. If that's all you can muster, or some of those, if that's all you can muster in 18 and a half years, my God, look at what Andrew Holness has done in less than 9 years. Guys, please join. Please, as you join, please share. Please share. As you join, please share. Thank you, Boba. Thank you, Shaggy. Thank you, K. Sharif. Alonzo, thank you. Please share. Thank you, guys. As you join, please share. Please share the live. We need to talk. Yep. So, with all of the noise you hear about Jamaica PNP country, when it's explained like I just explained it, you realize that the JLP was the cause of their own demise during the Patterson years. Had the JLP remained a force to be reckoned with, like the party of Buster created, I don't think the country would be in this mess. But you need to have a formidable opposition in order to fight against the PNP propaganda campaign. Guys, let me hear from you. I want to hear from you guys. Please share the live. Let me hear from you as you join. Voting for the PNP is a lost cause, not just for an individual, but voting for the PNP is a lost cause for our beloved country. It is a lost cause for our beloved country. Join, as you join the live, guys, please let me know what you think. We welcome you. Share it with your friends. Let us know. Let them know that we're here. We're here and we're having a discussion about the future of our country. Elections are now just days away, mere days away, not months, days. Drop a comment in the box, in the comment section. Let us know what you're thinking. And please share the live, share the live, share the live. Share the live, guys. Share the live. Let us chat. Please give us a feedback. Whether you're PNP, or you're JLP, or you no P at all. I want to hear from you. Please let me hear from you guys. Share the live with your friends, share the live with your groups, in your WhatsApp, wherever you have your group of friends, share. We're on here. I want to hear from everybody. I don't care what political party you're from. We're all Jamaicans at the end of the day. That's what we care about. Share, guys. Let me hear from you. Thank you for joining, Brittany. We sure should let Shaggy. The declining crime. I did a video recently. I don't know if you saw it, Shaggy, and in that I saw Peter Bunting talking about that he would not, that the PNP would not fire Dr. Kevin Blake, and I talked about the fact that Bunting is a liar. First of all, when Bunting was Minister of National Security, you all remember he was Minister of National Security. Thank you as you join. Please share and please let us hear from you. When Bunting was Minister of National Security and crime was at an exponential high rate, he threw up his hand and said Jamaica needed divine intervention. No, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because God gave us the authority and the power and the strength to do things for ourselves, not to depend on him to do it for us. And the Al Holness government came in, and I tell you, as a former law enforcement officer there, I thought that the government in Al Holness administration did not come in with the right attitude to please share. Thank you for the share, Shaggy. Did not come in with the right attitude towards crime. I thought he came in with the same idea as a University of the West Indies graduate. I thought he came in with the same idea that you can create prosperity in a country with a high crime rate. And I know that there's no place. Thank you guys for sharing the live, Shaggy. I really appreciate you. Joan, thank you for joining. Philippines, thank you for joining. And my feeling at the time was that despite this promise of prosperity that Mr. Holness had engaged in, I didn't think that Mr. Holness understood that crime is the number one impediment to prosperity. You can't have businesses, you can't have growth in an environment of high crime. You first have to tackle crime. And that is why countries that are successful spend a lot of money on security. This is not a new concept. Even from as far back as medieval times, kings and lords and heads of states, other heads of states, they used fortifications to protect their country. Okay, so the bottom line is you have to secure your country to engender trust, to engender a certain degree of comfortability in order to talk about that people are going to progress and people are going to prosper. Now, I did say also that after the Haitian president, Jovenel Moïse, was unalived in his home, I think Prime Minister Holness really figured out that this approach we have had in Jamaica since the beginning of our post-independence governance, that our laws were mainly centered on protecting, thank you for joining Hero Boss, protecting the rights of criminals while ignoring the victims of crime. And I thought that was a wrong approach. And for those of you who have been following me for a long time, even before we were using social media so much, those of you who followed my my website, MikeBeckles.com, will remember, because that website is still up there, that I always talk about the approach. We have to first deal with having stiff penalties for violent crime. So the downturn in crime that we've seen, the decrease, the drop in crime that we see, which I think even the Prime Minister now doesn't even appreciate, because he's still selling it as ZOSOs and states of emergencies. zones of specialized operations, and those are not long-term crime prevention methods. Those are stopgap methods. The real reason why crime has, we've seen this dramatic downturn in homicide. And I ask people who have brain to please think for yourself. Host of services, thank you for joining. Please share as you join. And please let us hear from you. I don't want to be here talking like I'm a professor. I'm not. So, and please, guys, please forgive me for the hoarseness in my voice. I'm just dealing with some seasonal allergies. I'm so sorry for that. But the real reason why the decrease, this exponential decrease in crime has occurred is the fact that the government finally came to its senses and drafted legislation that increased the penalties for guns and gun crimes. That's it. That is it. No young person want to go to prison. No young person want to go to prison for 50 years or 40 years because they know that's pretty much their entire life. And that is what's giving them pause. That is what's giving them pause. It's nothing else. It had nothing to do with Zoso. It had nothing to do with this, because I didn't see how Zoso helped anything. Because I call it a whack-a-mole strategy. When you have Zoso, you flood an area with police and soldiers. Those people who are in there committing crimes, all they do, they just go to somewhere else and commit crime. So yes, this area is flooded. And yes, if there was high crime in this area, you flood that area with security personnel, you wouldn't necessarily see a decrease in crime there. Of course, you're going to see a decrease in crime here. But what you're going to find is that there's increase over here. It's like you're holding a balloon half filled with air, and you squeeze it and you fold one part, the air rushes to the other part of the balloon. It's as simple as that. And I've said this repeatedly as a former law enforcement officer in Jamaica. This is not a strategy that's going to work, because all you're doing is you're transferring criminals from one part of the country and you're upsetting once pristine, crime-free neighborhoods and turning them into places for hideouts for criminals. What you have to do, you have to come to the realization that you have to attack crime at its root. You have to go after the gangs, you have to uproot them, but you must pass strong laws that sends a strong message that we are not effing around. When we catch you, we're either going to bring justice to you or bring you to justice. Those are your choices. And when we bring you to justice, the justice that will be meted out to you, you're going to wish you had chosen another path to life. Now, as I said that, I want to be absolutely clear, because there are a lot of people who, thank you for joining, Rowan. Thank you for joining, Morgan. Love Dawson. Thank you. Please share. Now, I want to just say this. A lot of people say, well, crime is a social condition. Crime is because of poverty. And I said, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there are not some crime that is derived from poverty. But most of the criminal conduct in our country is not a result of poverty. The guns coming in, poor people don't have money to, and the means or the connections to buy guns from overseas to bring into Jamaica. Okay, so that's a lie. And if you look at the standard of living in Jamaica, is way higher than many countries even in Asia. All right, and they have next to zero crime. You look at countries like Indonesia and others, Vietnam, so many countries in Asia, they have low crime rate. And to make the case, if you go to Latin America, if you look at Latin America and look at their crime statistics there, most of the Latin American countries have exponentially high crime. What is the reason for that? It's not poverty. It's drug cartels. So it has nothing to do with poverty. Those are just simple facts. So as I wrap up this uh, this this part of the conversation on crime, and I love the conversation on crime because I was a law enforcement officer and I've studied this issue even after I left law enforcement long time ago. I still continue to do the research, talk to people, and write articles on this subject. Has precious little to do um, with poverty and more to do with the tolerance within the society for criminal behavior. And that begins at the very top with whichever administration is in power that allows it to go on. Now, Jamaica is probably one of the worst places when it comes to tolerance for crime. Because generally, in most countries, for example, um, you'll have two political parties who are very close when it comes to the issue of violent crimes. Um, not so in Jamaica. And voters have to ask themselves, why is it the the JLP is willing to spend political capital in order to take the tough steps towards protecting the country, and the PNP is willing to expend political capital to water down legislation to ensure that criminals do not get their just desert. It's a simple, very simple question that doesn't require no PhD to answer. The PNP has always been funded by Dons. Dons cotton to that party. The PNP has the most garrisons. So if you look at even the people who support the PNP, even at the very top running to be members of parliament, are criminals, convicted criminals. So Jamaicans cannot look to the PNP for leadership on crime. The PNP has no interest. Thank you for joining, Jason. The PNP has no interest in securing our country. None. Because they do not want a country that is crime free. Because their supporters, a lot of their supporters, and a lot of people in the party itself, if they're not criminals or convicts, they're criminally adjacent. That's a fact. And if you come from Jamaica and you know about Jamaican politics, you know this to be true. You know this to be true. Some of the biggest name criminals in Jamaica are attached to the People's National Party. How then would a political party like that, support the rule of law? It can't. And that's why whenever good legislation comes up in the parliament, whether it's in the lower house or up in the Senate, the PNP fight against it. But what they do, they're very slick with it. They tell the masses of the people who look to them because, they say they love the poor. They tell the Jamaican people how much they love the poor. So what they do, they tell the poor people, a lot of the people who are low information people, they tell them that the legislation proposed by the other party would infringe on their civil and human rights. And most people, once they're told that by their party, they believe it. Because many of them refuse to think and many of them lack the ability to think. So they believe what they're told. And they don't understand that a lot of them, the state of poverty in which they exist, is directly attributable and should be laid directly at the feet of the PNP because of its policies. And they talk about how much they love the poor. Thank you for joining, Coach. They talk about how much they love the poor. Well, of course they love the poor. They want people who they feel are the most vulnerable, the most susceptible to their lies and disinformation, who they can manipulate, who they can induce with offers of freebie. People who are in desperate situations for them to manipulate with their lies. Christian Paz, thank you for joining. Please share the live. People who they feel they can manipulate with their lies. What they don't want, they talk about education, but what they don't want, Aaron Palmer, thanks for joining. What they don't want is a Jamaica that has an educated electorate. Because if you have an elected electorate in Jamaica, there would be no People's National Party. Let me say that again. If you have a really informed electorate, there'd be no People's National Party. Because the policies of the People's National Party makes absolutely no economic sense. And if the Jamaican voters understood that, thank you for joining, Ali. If the Jamaican people understood that you can't just be handing out free stuff because everything had to be paid for, and ultimately the country is going to suffer for it. And we've seen the suffering caused by, from Michael Manley back to PJ Patterson and Portia. Everybody wanted to run away. Everybody want to run away, leave Jamaica. And one of the things I ask people nowadays, we see people coming from Croatia. We see people come from Lithuania, people coming from Russia, people coming from Ukraine, people coming from all over the world. They're coming to visit Jamaica, but they're not coming. Thank you for joining, Leroy Wallace. They come to Jamaica, they're not coming to visit. Their people are coming to stay now. All economic magazines talking about major countries, including the United States, should look at the Jamaican economic model. That's the model started by Manna Yard. Let me tell you, under Bruce Golding. Yeah? And you have some idiots that run up their mouth to talk about Ojeda. Thanks for joining. You have some idiot that run up their mouth to talk about how Portia did this, Portia did what? What did what? Portia didn't know anything about. Portia was just there as a placeholder. Manna Yard. Start that under Bruce Golding. Solid economic policies. And then, of course, after Portia lost, Andrew Holness administration continued that economic policy that Bruce Golding started. Bruce Golding and Manna Yard started. Everybody wants to come to Jamaica now. But remember, it's not just because Jamaica nice beach and Jamaican food. It's the stability in our country. It's the stability of our country right now. The stability, low crime. People talking about how they like to walk free. They feel like they can just go anywhere now. They can relax. but they're planning on firing Kevin Blake. Yeah, they don't want Kevin Blake. They don't want Kevin Blake because Kevin Blake goes after criminals, whether they're JLP, PNP, or no P at all. Kevin Blake go after them. He say, I'm coming, we're coming, we're coming. Thank you for joining, King Solomon. Hope you bring some wisdom. Folks, as you join, drop a comment in the section below. Let me hear what you think. Tell me how much you agree or tell me how much you disagree with what I'm saying. I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear sitting here talking. Dorothy, thank you for joining. As you join, leave me a comment. Even if you can't stay for long, leave me a comment. Let me know how you feel. Claudette Jared, thank you for joining. Claudette, leave us a comment. Let us hear how you feel. We're talking about the upcoming election in our country, Jamaica. And I really, really want to tap into what's going on with the Jamaican diaspora, the Jamaican at home. Stanley, thank you for joining. It's important to us to hear. We're Jamaicans at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it's important for us to real talk. Thank you for joining. Dorothy, thank you for the thumbs up. Guys, as you join, please share and please let us know how you feel. Tell us what you think is happening in our country. Tell us whether you agree with the path the country is on. Tell us where you think things could be made better. Tell us what you think about the People's National Party's policy proposals, if you had seen them. They've just released their manifesto. And I'm going to be very honest with you. Rolling with Dana Join, thank you. I got to be honest with you. I have not had time. User 41, thank you for joining. Please share the live as you join. I'm going to be very frank with you. I have not seen their manifesto. I know their manifesto is online, but I'm going to be very honest with you. I have not had a chance to read it. I have not had a chance to read it. So I'm not in a position to critique it. So I'm going to have to trust you if you have seen it. If you have seen it, and if you think there is anything worth talking about in it, I'd be interested in hearing from you some of the proposals that are in it if you've seen it. Anne Marie, thank you for joining. It'd be interesting to hear from you on the policy proposal, the PNP, because who knows? The Jamaican electorate is a very funny electorate, and the PNP is running strong, and there's a strong possibility that the PNP can form the next government. We don't know what the electorate's going to do. We don't know what the voters are going to do. In 1980, after declaring the election date, Julia, thanks for joining. Please share. Please guys, please drop us a comment. We want you to comment in the section below. Yeah, in 1980, after announcing the election date, a defiant Michael Manley stood in Sam Sharp Square and he looked out again at the crowd as supporters. A sea of orange. Bob's joined. Thank you, Bob. He saw a sea of orange. Michael Manley felt emboldened. Alexis, thank you for joining. Michael thundered in his classic Michael Manley voice. He says, fundamentally, 150,000 strong cannot be wrong. Yeah. Darren, thank you for joining. Share the live, please. Let us hear from you. When the final votes were counted, the result was 51 JLP, 9 PNP. So, for those of you who are looking at political meeting crowds, that don't mean nothing. There's so many dynamics involved in crowds, so many that it's almost impossible to use crowds at a political rally as a barometer as to how voters are really feeling. And as Cargo said, I know every time 5 plus 5 make 10. A lot of people don't understand that. I know every time 5 plus 5 make 10. Because so many dynamics are at play. First of all, in political meetings, you don't know how many buses and cars and whatever were used to transport people from all over the country to that one point. That's number one. You don't know how much money was spent to induce people to leave them business, to put on t-shirt, green or orange t-shirt, get in a vehicle to go to that political event. You don't know how much money was given to them for food. Now, people look at that and say, well, that's vote buying. It is not. It is not. Sorry. Personally don't see it as, thank you, Jamaica First. I personally do not see it as vote buying. I see it as a little incentivizing your supporters. Mr. Coleman, thank you for joining. I see it as incentivizing your supporters to go out and support you. Both political parties do it. Don't see anything wrong with it. It's not vote buying in my estimation. Now, if you if a political party or candidate was to then give this person standing outside a couple $1,000 and say, yo, go inside and vote for me. That's vote buying. There's a difference. That would be vote buying. So I think there's so many other features that are uh, nuances within the that discussion about um, political party crowds. That's almost impossible for anybody to look at a crowd at a political event and draw any conclusions from it. Literally impossible. So on that basis, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in this election. Um, the polls, we like to talk about polls as well. And, you know, polls are just as fickle too, because it depends on who conducted the poll, who conducted the poll, who paid for the poll, who did the pollsters talk to, who is the poll slanted in favor of. Because to suggest that people are going out to conduct polls and they're conducting those polls with 100% honesty and integrity, even though that is what should be required, that's what should be an integral part of the polling organization in order to build credibility. You'd be surprised that it's not always there. It's not always there. as some people just do not care. They're going to push their political agenda using whatever platform they have. So we have been at this now for quite a while. We're going to be just a couple minutes, few minutes more. Those of you who have joined, I appreciate you. Ellie, thank you for joining. I would have really, really preferred to see more comments and more people adding their 2 cents so that I can respond directly to you, answer some of the questions that you have. As we draw closer to the election, I am going to try to do a live at least 3 times a week so we can chat. Um, those live will probably be in the late evenings when I'm finished with my work. And then we could really have conversation on the issues of the day as it relates to the elections, as it relates to what's going on. Question is, Dario Cole joined. Thank you for joining, Dario. Um, on the question of whether you think that the Andrew Holness administration deserves a third term, or whether you think Mark Golden deserves a shot and the PNP deserve a shot, particularly after what they did to the country over the previous 18 and a half years before Holness and the JLP took over. The, the condition that they left the country in leaves left a bitter taste in my mouth. I don't know about anybody else. And it seemed like the PNP has not decided to pivot from their old socialist style policies of state control, giving away stuff to people to induce people to vote for them. That old style politics seem to, they're still running around calling each other comrades. And much as I think I can't, Pauline Johnson, thank you for joining. Guys, it's been interesting if you leave us a comment. Give us a comment while you're here. Even if you're not going to stay for long, leave us a comment. I'd like to speak to those comments. Yeah. They're even calling each other's comrade. I don't know of any country that's a socialist country are using the policies of the PNP, those types of policies, that is a successful country. Even China, the communist nation, has moved away from those policies of the state controlling everything and trickling down to the people. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. The government's role is to put in infrastructure and allow the people to thrive using their own skills that God gave them. That's the way. That's the way to do it. But Bingy Max, Wagwan, let me hear from you, Bingy. Heal up, Bingy. Heal up. Whatever one, they are talk, but what I hear from everybody about it, because we're talking about the policies of the People's National Party. And I don't see any situation right now where they have decided to pivot from the old policies of give away this, give away that, state control this and give away. I don't know. I don't know if a nation can be built that way. I don't see any country where that happens. I mean, a socialist type system may not be the worst system in the world, but when you think about some countries that people tend to point to, like some Scandinavian countries that people pay huge tax rates, or even Canada, for example, which uses a more neoliberal taxation system, and England, for example. There's kind of there's kind of a concrete ceiling. It's not even a glass ceiling. There's there's a concrete ceiling above the heads of the population. So if you look at the British system, for example, that has a monarchy, and the system has a there's a there's a concrete ceiling, not a glass ceiling, a concrete ceiling. How many times you hear somebody break out in England and become a multi-millionaire, a billionaire? How often does that happen? It doesn't happen. It does not, unless you're the Beatles or John Lennon or some like or sorry, Elton John, where the world, and it's not England that's gonna make them exponentially rich. It's the world that's gonna make them rich. So even when you talk about countries like Canada and some Scandinavian nations, for reals, run with the government dingy. Those countries charge their citizens humongous tax. A huge part of what people earn goes to the government, and then the government uses it back and give them some degree of education, some degree of healthcare, some degree of other social services. So if you trust the government to handle your money more than you trust yourself, then those systems are for you. Now, me, for example, Shaggy, you're right. We don't want to go back to the IMF, and we shouldn't. We want to stay the course where we are with political maturity. But the point is, some people trust government to be them daddy, and that is what the policies of the PNP is about: being daddy, to the country, and that stifles the entrepreneurial spirit. When you look at what Heart has done and is doing for people, you look at the young people now graduating from the Heart Trust, just the Heart Trust. We haven't talked about nothing else yet. Like, we're not talking about how the Maritime Institute that train people and all them places that train people. Those are new things. Yeah. Young people being trained in tech and other areas. I don't see why we'd want government to become our father or daddy. That's just me, though. That's just me. Dingy, you're right. And here's the thing. Respect Blacker. Here's the thing. They would have spent everything, because let me tell you something. You see the National Reserve that the JLP government has set aside, that it's kind of a buffer, an economic buffer for the country. So that when big countries sneeze, like the United States and others sneeze, our local economy down there is not so buffeted that it overturned. You see that company where Andrew Holness and the JLP set aside, as soon as the PNP then go in office, assuming that they're going to get elected, they're going to use that up. They are going to use that up. Alton, thank you for joining. They are going to use that money up. Yeah. It's going to be gone. They're going to give it away. Because now everybody will promise free things. Free education up to university. Yeah. Everybody where they make promises to, I gonna come with them hand out, them plate, not them hand. Cause time come for collect, right? And so when you think about how dangerous that is, considering who is in power in the United States, you have an idea of what's going to happen. You have an idea what is going to happen. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. So Bottom line is, we don't know how the voters are going to vote. So we have to prepare ourselves for what's to come. It's very likely that we will see a PNP government, and it's also likely that we may not. Either way, either way, either way, I'll enjoy the chat with you guys. Bingy, take care of yourself. The rest of you guys, thank you for joining. I appreciate those of you who joined. This was my first live. I appreciate it. Thank you to the, I can't see quite a bit of you who joined. Some decided to comment, but by and large, it was entertaining for me. Thank you so much. Guys, I'll see you on the next go around. Appreciate you.